Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Spark, where everyday people share their favorite source of inspiration and motivation. We want to ignite your positivity and energy with just a little spark. I'm Amy Broghammer, and today we are joined by a friend of mine, Chris McClure. Chris is a personal coach and leadership trainer out of Dayton, Ohio. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
No problem. It's great to do this.
Wonderful. Chris, tell the people how we know each other.
We go way, way back, right? We went to high school together and probably caused trouble in classes together and have stayed connected through the years. And it's almost hysterical to see how we're kind of merging paths these days with what we're up to individually.
Yeah, I can bet that that chemistry teacher would have never expected that we would be doing what we're doing today after we barely escaped chemistry.
Amen. You're right.
Awesome. So thanks for joining us. Chris, you have a little bit of a background that I'd like for you to share with us. Your college and what you did right when you got out of college. I think that would be appropriate to share.
Okay. Yeah. So when I left high school, went to college, first of all, when I was in high school, I was really struggling with trying to really understand what should I do with my life. And I found all these people who were, going to college and they had all these plans and, their career and whatever. And I really struggled with that for quite a while in high school until right before my senior year. And I went on a mission trip actually with a youth group from my church down to Guyana, South America. And while I was down there, really, my youth pastor really spent a lot of time just kind of helping me think through that. And I realized at that time, I wanted to help other people do what he had done for me, people who were kind of lost with their direction, what they want to do with their life. And so that was kind of my thing coming back home at that point. And what that turned out for me was to be a youth pastor for about 15 years. And so I went to a Christian college, got a degree in ministry in the Bible, and did that for about 15 years and have been a pastor for 20 years in that regard. But I also, along the way, was such a student of leadership and just personal growth. And so that I was just hungry. And then I realized along the way how many people were just struggling at their jobs because they hadn't been properly trained in leadership development, or they were being managed by people who had no clue how to lead people well. They'd been promoted into roles, but hadn't been really trained and invested in. So 3 years ago, I decided to become a certified leadership coach for the John Maxwell team, just to have the resources and the training myself to even go deeper with that personally, but also to help other people. So I started my business doing personal coaching and leadership training at that point. And, I've been coaching people for a long time through my ministry background in churches, but now I'm really helping people in the business community figure out how can they be better leaders and how can they lead their teams better.
It seems like a very natural progression from my seats. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to watch your journey and your next steps.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
All right. So tell us about the spark that you're bringing today and describe it and tell us a little bit about your story around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, 3 years ago, I was starting down this journey of becoming a certified coach and trainer, kind of in this season of just really exploring what is next. I found myself in my mid-30s looking at where I had grown to and felt like, is this it? Is this going to be all that I do, in the roles that I've been in, which were great. I mean, I didn't have any complaints, but I kind of felt like I hit the ceiling of in my ministry roles of what I was doing. And I thought, is this what I'm going to do for the next 30, 35 years of my life? And I realized, that there was really more in me than I ever really even imagined. And I came across this quote by Nelson Mandela, which is my spark that I wanted to share today, that really just resonated with me because he said, there's no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. And I just really felt like, I didn't realize at the time, but I realized I was playing small compared to what my potential was. And like I said, it wasn't that things were going bad in my life. It wasn't like, there was some kind of big upheaval or something I had to just change. It was more about there was this internal pull to something more. And I felt like this quote just really spoke to that because I just see a lot of people who are playing small and they don't even know it a lot of times. They don't realize their potential. And so I use this quote. I talk about this, to individuals and to teams, because I feel like teams can play bigger than they do. It's easy to get complacent and just kind of, ride the wave of where they've been. I think it's easy for individuals to do that as well, to say, I've reached the pinnacle of what I do, and I'm just going to have to kind of just do this the rest of my life or whatever. There's not really any growth that I can move on from here. And so people just settle for a lot, I think, in life and in their businesses. And I just really believe that there's so much more that as we grow, there's just always more to keep growing in. And so I just feel like this quote just really speaks to that, because, he's right. There is no passion when you're playing small and you're just kind of capped out. There's, you kind of just feel that passion die.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first, going to college and starting in my career, how excited I was about what I was moving into. But it was always a stretching experience, because it was something I hadn't done before. And when I started my business 3 years ago, I felt kind of that same thing. I kind of felt like I was brand new again, trying to start over and do my own, that next step that I just had no background in. Starting a business was never on my mind in my life. And I've learned since then how hard it is at times, but also how exciting it is. And I know I've grown so much in the last 3 years. It's just phenomenal. And I just feel like, it just shows me that there's so much more in each of us than we realize a lot of times.
I love the quote. And when I was reading the quote, I kind of laughed in the fact that you sent that to me, because I see that quote as like the vision behind Lead Life Big.
Absolutely.
Was that an inspiration for that tagline or phrase? Or
I can't remember if I found it before I started my company name of Lead Life Big or not, but it definitely was around the same time, and it just felt like it fit, because big stands for be intentionally great. And, for me, I just think a lot of people settle for less. One of my favorite business books is Good to Great by Jim Collins. And I always thought about that from a business standpoint and, leadership standpoint, but then it really hit me that what about our lives from a personal, standpoint? How do we shift from good to great? A lot of us are, leading good lives, where they're not bad. Things are going well, do this for the rest of our life, personally or professionally, and we're okay. But there's still that internal hunger or pull to something more, something better, something greater. And so, it just seemed to be like it was kind of a hand in glove kind of a quote to go along with the vision of my coaching and training business.
I agree. It blends really well.
Yeah.
So some basic questions here.
Okay.
Other people are watching this. We're hoping that they'll make a connection with you based on any of the things that you've already shared, right? Yeah. How did you discover this quote?
Honestly, I don't remember.
It
was one of those things where when I was ready, I think I was probably just looking around at the idea of greatness and what is it, what is that potential, in us. And I don't know I can't remember if somebody shared it or if I just stumbled across it online somewhere. Honestly, I don't see it anywhere else except for where I put it.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
I've seen that one before. And in fact, I have a complimentary one, or
okay.
a similar one. I don't know if I don't see it. It was in my book. Maybe I didn't add that in there. But there's a really great quote from another really Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
If we did all the things we were capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Both
we don't realize human potential is really unlimited. I mean,
especially today in the world we live in.
Yeah. I mean, it's because, the bottom line is from the day we are born till the day we die, we're continually capable of more and growing and morphing into a new and better version of ourselves. And, I'm just amazed at people who just kind of shut it down at some point in their life and they just kind of quit. It's almost like, I know John Maxwell says, he's like, I know a lot of people that die at 25, but they're not buried till they're 75 or 80, because they just they don't keep growing. They don't keep, expanding their life.
I think a lot of that is a function of how you are brought up, the people that you surround yourself with, what is the expectation in your family or in your, in your circle. And there are people that will just, have the same thing forever and never reach.
Yep. Yeah, I was actually just watching a free training yesterday by Darren Hardy, who's one of my favorite online mentors, and he was talking about that. And Jim Rohn has been quoted as saying, "You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," right? And I think that's a lot of it. I mean, and it's not, once again, I think there's a lot of people that live good lives that they're content, and that's a good thing, But I also think that there's still a lot of people, they just have there's something inside them wanting more, and they never realize it because they're not around people who are really pulling them and challenging them to greater things. And I know for me, when I joined the John Maxwell team, as an example, 3 years ago, what I didn't anticipate was putting myself in an environment with people who just were focused on their own personal development and helping others grow at a level that I had never been around. And so all of a sudden I was surrounded by world leaders who are doing great things in other nations even, and they're now like colleagues of mine, and I get to learn from them, and I'm challenged to raise up because I'm like, wow, if they can do that there in their community or their country, what can I do right here where I live every day?
Yep. And you would never have seen that if you didn't put yourself in that situation,
right,
to receive that inspiration or information,
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is trying to find groups or, folks or environments where are really challenging me to grow. I mean, that's been so key throughout my life, but I really see that because I'm being more intentional with it in these last few years alone.
Yep. And, another point about that is it takes effort. It takes intention, effort, consistency. You have to, if somebody says, "Hey, Chris, you should read this book." Well, you got to get the book. You got to set the time aside to read the book. You got to apply the book. You know what I mean? Like, it takes effort to grow. Yep.
It does. And that's been, it's funny. My parents used to laugh at me because I hated reading as a kid. I didn't do it well when I was in school. And honestly, even during college, I mean, I did what I needed to do to get by a lot of ways. But when I realized that I could choose a book of my own and read it for my own benefit, like, I became this average. If I showed you around my office right now, I mean, I've got stacks of books everywhere, and outgrowing my bookcases and stuff. And you're right. I mean, but I have made an intentional decision to invest in myself through reading. And that's just what a lot of people there's simple things, but like, you're right. You have to take the step to do it. And whether it's blocking out the time or even ordering the book, I mean, they're not complicated, but you have to do it.
Yeah. You have to be dedicated to it and see it through, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I was a lot like you. I didn't read anything unless I absolutely had to. And now, in my husband, I got him hooked on reading. Yeah. And if you came into our bedroom, you would see the nightstands, and there are piles of books that are almost leaning and fall. And I know that, our kids are going to knock them over one day, but you know what? That's the kind of example that I want to set.
Right.
I want my kids to walk into our bedroom and see tons of books.
Right. That's just normal, right?
And set the expectation that this is what we do. We don't have a TV in our room, right? We don't have, I don't know what else people put in their bedrooms, but it's just setting the expectation that this is a normal thing and you should be seeing this, and this is what we do in our house and all that. How often do you look at this quote or revisit it or use it to spark yourself?
I think it's always kind of playing in the back of my mind at some level. I mean, I've got it on my homepage of my website. I put it in front of my training manuals, when I put those together, when I do leadership training. Every now and then I'll just kind of keep pushing it out there on social media and different places, just as a reminder. So, for me, it's one of those things where it's always floating out there. I tend to, if something really hits me, and I actually haven't done this on this quote because it's probably just burned in my mind as much as anything, but I'll write it down on a piece of paper and just tape it to my office wall and just keep it right in front of my desk if I need to. for things like that. But that's the way I look at this, is I want this to just be that constant reminder that no matter where I am today, there's still more that I'm capable of achieving and being.
Absolutely. I think I'm the biggest wall junkie of all. Anytime I see something that I want to remind myself of, or I might need to revisit again, it's on the wall. It's taped to the wall. Yeah. And then every once in a while you can just kind of look up at the wall and remember all the things you need to remember,
Absolutely.
All right. So really great stuff. Nelson Mandela just celebrated a 100th birthday, and big celebration. A lot of really great stuff came out of that, and memories and legacy and all of that. So
yeah, he's a phenomenal guy.
All right. So Chris, thank you for sharing your spark with us. We'd love to have you back on anytime, because I know that you are full of it in sparks, if you will. Tell us a little bit about what you're proud of right now. What are you doing or actively working on? What would you like to share with the world out there?
Yeah, I mean, much like you, I've been in this book writing process. I've been wrestling through kind of my actual title of my book. I thought I had it at the very beginning, but then I wrote the book and I thought, I don't know if that's quite the title, but I think what I've landed on for the title, is it's in the editing phase, is Journey to Greatness, 5 Steps for Designing the Life of Abundance. Because it's really a process, is what I've really discovered. And there's 5 key areas that I believe that I've discovered or experienced that are really foundational to living a great life. And I want to help other people experience that. I want to help other people figure out what's missing in my life, that, once again, things may be good, but I just feel like something's off. And I think sometimes people, we can overlook something in our life that's maybe not quite in line with where we want to be, or it's holding us back mentally or emotionally or physically, spiritually, whatever, that we don't even necessarily pay attention to until we get real intentional with it. So, my book is, like I said, it's in the editorial phase at this point. I'm hoping to launch that in the next couple months. Off of that, I'll be building a video course as well as a coaching program that I'll be offering to people, and obviously having plenty of opportunities to speak on the different topics as well.
Wonderful. Well, we'd love to help you promote that book when you're ready and able.
Would appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Anytime. So if any of the people watching you right now wanted to connect with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, the best way is just visit my website, leadlifebig.com. leadlifebig.com, or just even send me an email at chris@leadlifebig.com. Those are the quickest ways to find me. On my website, I've actually got a couple of things that I do offer. One is I do like a free 30-minute consultation just to kind of help people kind of get their mind around what are their goals or what are their challenges, and how to maybe take some steps forward in that. Also, I have what I call the Great Life Assessment, which is a free download just to kind of assess the 5 core areas that I talk about in my book. It's basically just it's a worksheet to kind of guide you through that, to see kind of where's your current reality and where can I grow, and kind of what are the blind spots that I have right now. So if they go and visit my homepage on that, you'll see those right there.
Awesome. Well, we will get that information out. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. Really appreciate your time, and let us know when you're ready to come back and share more.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.